What's happening, guys? It's Tom here. Thank you for tuning in to another Storytime. In the last video I talked about how I got into photography and how I ended up in Germany, and I said that if you guys hit the like target, which you guys smashed, I'll tell you about the time when I hit #1 in the App Store with 1 million downloads. So it's quite a wild story. Yeah, again, grab a coffee or something like that, sit down, and I'm going to tell you exactly what happened from my point of view and how I went from nothing to hitting #1 in the App Store at the age of 21, okay? So get ready, here we go. So, the story starts in about 2009 when the App Store, I think, was first announced. My dad had an iPad at that time and an iPhone 3G. And he's really into coding and stuff like that, and he was making iPhone apps. He made a few apps that, did okay, nothing major. But I really wanted to learn how to do it myself. And I tried to learn how to do it myself, but I just could not get my head around coding. For some reason, it just wouldn't go in, and I'd get frustrated and I'd always stop. I'd always get so far, get to a point and then be like, I can't do this, and then just give up. So I was on and off of the App Store, and I created a few apps, and I did bits and pieces, and then one day it finally started to click. I finally started to understand how to make things and make what I wanted to happen on the screen. The big turning point for me was when I started to learn about the process of applications and how it's just basically about moving data from one stage to another. And once I got over that concept, I was able to think, okay, to get this to happen, I need to have this, and that needs to do that. And then once I got my head around that, I could make basically what I wanted. So fast forward to university, I'm at university with my friends, we're at a house party, and that week, a viral video had completely taken over Facebook. It just completely shut everything down. Everyone was talking about this video. And the video in question was a guy called Andy Tate. And Andy Tate was a very, very zealous football fan. He absolutely loved Manchester United. And he was basically showing how pissed off he was at the new manager and what he'd done to the team. I'll insert a clip of the video here so you know what I'm talking about.
Mr. Tate, how you doing?
Not too good after tonight. What else can be said? You got the job on a technicality of a legend who recommended you. You are nothing, you are a fool, and you are a waste of time. Good night.
So we're at this house party and everyone's, chanting the chants that he was saying, all the different sayings and things like that, just lads being lads. And then my friend, Bram, one of my best friends at uni, he was like, somebody should really make an app out of this. This is too funny. This is such a good opportunity. Someone should grab it. And I was kind of there, 6 or 7 beers in, yeah, I can do that. That's all right. It's not too difficult. I was like, what am I going to call it though? And then that's when he said, iTate. There was no hesitation. He was like, Apple, iPhone, iTate. I was like, yes, that is a winning combination. So I left the house party. It was about 6 a.m. Went back to my house in Leeds, immediately opened my laptop, started typing away, and then within 2 hours, I kind of had the thing made. I'll insert a clip of what it looked like. I mean, it's not pretty, that's the first thing I'll say, but you gotta remember the mindset. I'd just come back from a house party, I just fired it out. I never expected it to get big. And so did that, and then started doing the submission process for the App Store, which if you're into apps, is quite a tedious process and it's quite difficult to get an app approved. But I was doing that. All my housemates were trying to watch TV in the evening, and they were telling me it was a waste of time. I lived with 7 girls at uni and 2 lads. The girls thought it was a waste of time. The lads absolutely loved it and thought it was hilarious. So I kept on going with it, and we took it from there. So 2 days passed. I'm currently at this point out at dinner with 6 mates. And on November 22nd, 2014, the application came out. Amazing, great, being approved, which is a big deal for the App Store. So we all downloaded it, and that day I got my report. We got 6 downloads. 6 people at the dinner party, 2 and 2 together. We all downloaded it. That was as far as it went. And we tweeted it out, we put it on Facebook that people could download it. It was free, it was just a bit of a laugh, and left it there. So the next day, November 23rd, get my report, 600 downloads overnight. And at that point I was like, okay, it's a bit weird. Saw that it gathered a bit of momentum on Twitter from the tweets that we put out, friends of friends of friends, it kind of grew that way. 600 people, I was pretty happy with that. I got about £5 off AdSense, I was buzzing. So withdrew it, went to the pub, bought myself a pint, and then that was that. That was as far as I think it was gonna go. And then the next day, 24th of November. Went to university, did all that. Got back in the evening and I checked my AdSense account and my daily earnings had massively increased, like compared to the £5 that it was in the morning. And then 5 minutes later, I remember I was on my phone, I refreshed the AdSense page and the amount had literally doubled that was on there in the space of 5 minutes for a daily earning. And I was like, something's wrong here, something has happened for this to be happening. And that's when I turned on my phone and I saw that Twitter was absolutely popping. And basically an account called Football Accumulators, I'll put a picture of it here, they tweeted basically a screenshot of my application and a very simple tweet, best app ever. And that went out to 130,000 people. And then I got my report for the evening and it got 17,000 downloads basically off the back of Twitter. That achieved number 2 in the entertainment chart and then number 11 overall. And then the next morning, that's when it got a bit real. The app was climbing the App Store. I was very excited about it, but also a bit apprehensive because I'd essentially taken audio that wasn't mine and used it on an application and stuck adverts on it. But at the time, I wasn't thinking, I never thought this app was going to be big. Ultimately, that led to me being contacted by a company called Fremantle Media. And if you don't know who Fremantle Media, quite a big company, you might have heard of The X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, things like that. Well, they own those shows and they happen to also own the audio from Andy Tate, who I'd literally ripped off. They also own the channel Full Time Devils, which are the company that own the video. And basically they wanted me to take the app down. And I'd just done a module on copyright law. I knew how serious it was, I knew how badly people could get it wrong. And I was genuinely under the impression that worst case scenario, I was going to go to prison. I remember I was sat on the kitchen, I was sat on the floor in the kitchen in the uni house. One of the girls from my house, Dyana, she came in, found me sat there and she was like, well, what's up? And I started to explain the scenario and she was like, okay. So what I did is whenever I'm in a bad situation like that, I'd ring my dad and ask him for advice. So called him up, told him what happened. At first he was like, this is mega because you're number 2 in the entertainment store, you're number 11 overall, this is crazy. And we basically got contacted, we contacted Fremantle Media, the company that basically told me to take it down and threatened legal action. Told them that, I told them I was just a 21-year-old kid, I was at uni, just, having fun with my mates, and that was basically the be-all end all of it. And they then lowered the tone and they took a nicer approach to me. And then I told them it was making money, and they were like, okay, well, let's keep going with it, see where it goes. You've got our backing, keep it up, let's just see what we can do. So I then reached out to Andy, the guy whose voice I'd used, and he deleted all of his accounts because of all the fame, all this instant fame. He didn't know how to deal with it. Like, you've got millions of people literally from Facebook alone, not even counting my app, chanting stuff to you in the street and all that kind of thing. He wasn't ready for it, so I think as anyone would be. So he deleted his account. I couldn't get hold of him, but I got hold of his brother Jeff. And then I told Jeff, I told him what had happened, told him the story as I'm telling you guys now about the house party. He thought it was funny, and I said to him, look, everything that I make off this application, I'm going to split it 50-50. I'm going to pay Andy. I'm going to let him take the money as well because I think it's only fair. And he was obviously massively appreciative of that, and we continued on with the app, kept on going. So the next day, November 25th, I'd spoken to Fremantle, I'd spoken to Andy indirectly. The app had then received an additional 78,000 downloads throughout the day, and then finally achieved that number 1 spot in the App Store. I'll put in some screenshots now of people congratulating. It was a mega exciting time, For somebody who was getting involved in new media at university, to have the number 1 app in the UK was absolutely unbelievable. I kind of felt a bit like Mark Zuckerberg. At that point, I had money coming in on AdSense. It was a substantial amount. I sacked off uni. I was like, I'm finished. This is my life now. So I sacked off uni and moved back home and started to focus on how I could kind of maximize this opportunity and then turn it into more of a business venture. At which point I decided to put in in-app purchases. So putting in-app purchases into an app kind of takes it to the next level because you're dealing with personal data and all that side of it, and it's something that I hadn't got involved with. So I knew that I had to move back home to just take my mind out of this crazy, bubble of uni and then just be sat so I could just focus on my laptop and then just get it done basically. I wanted to kind of strike while the iron was hot to maximize the sales. So that's what I did. I spent 2 days at home coding up the store. We got it all working and submitted to Apple. And then after the 2 days, I moved back to uni and carried on life, in my course. And then November 29th comes around and I hit 250,000 downloads. The store came out on the same day, and in the first 12 hours, I sold 7,000 in-app purchases, which was unreal. Like, again, that was kind of wanting to leave uni point again, because I thought I'd made it once more. Yeah, people wanted to speak to me at this point. I got contacted by, different news outlets, TV shows. People wanted to know what had happened and how this viral ad had come about. On December 3rd, an interview I did with a student website called The Tab, that came out, started talking about the app, and then basically that exposed me as the coder for this app to a wider range of people. And after that point, I was getting like 15 to 50 requests a day for people to make their apps they wanted to do. Tinder had just come out and everyone was like, I've got an amazing idea for an app. It's like Tinder but for cars. It's like Tinder but for dog walkers. It was always like Tinder but for something else. So I kind of parred a lot of that off because I wasn't interested. I just wanted to make these apps for me and my mates. All these people were like, oh yeah, you can make this app for me. I'll give you €500 or £500. And that wasn't interesting to me at all. So I just, left that. So this entire time, on Twitter especially, people were like, this app's amazing, when's it coming out for Android? Because I made it for iPhone. iPhone Xcode was the only program I knew how to use. I didn't know how to do Android. But I knew that I really needed to get this app on Android. So once again, I moved back to my house for a couple of days and met up with my dad. My dad is a very talented coder as well. So I knew he was the only guy that was going to be able to help me out with this. And basically between us both, we spent 2 days just basically porting the iPhone app onto Android. And then we got that all approved, we got it all working. It was a bit shoddy, it was a bit glitchy. We put it out anyway because we knew that this was going to be a matter of time before it all died off anyway. The Android version went out, it got 180,000 downloads in the first day and went straight to number 1. December 13th, this was Andy Tate's birthday, and on that day we achieved 500,000 total downloads, which was a massive milestone. Really, really cool. That was the first time I actually spoke to him, so I had a phone call with him and I told him, have a good birthday, I'm going to make sure that I make your Christmas for you, I'm gonna sort you out, because the first checks at that point had come in from Google. I was still waiting for the Apple stuff to come in, but Google had just paid their first installment of all the money made on the adverts. So yeah, I'm not gonna talk about exact numbers of what was made, just out of respect for Andy, and also it's a private matter. But I will tell you about the story about when I went to the bank to pay the money to Andy, because I went to the bank and I got laughed at initially because I got in the business banking queue. And I know I don't look super old now, but when I was 21, I looked about 10 years old. So I get in the queue for business banking and I get laughed at by the guy at the bank. He's like, you're in the business queue, you need to go over to the personal. I went, no, I'm in the right queue, honestly, I'm in the right queue. And he was like, all right then. And then I will never forget the cashier's face when I went up to the front of the till. I showed her the amount of money on paper, what I wanted to wire over to Andy. And then her face when she made the request and it went through was absolutely priceless. It was like a kid had just come in and just done this. It was hilarious, it was so funny. Yeah, like I say, I won't discuss the figure, but I was able and super happy to be able to transfer Andy a 5-figure sum just before Christmas so he could have a great Christmas with his family, which was awesome. So yeah, the app kind of did a few bits and pieces, throughout the year. In April, Andy got more used to the fame and then basically put out another video. And because of that, it got a bit of a second wind. So, we put more sounds into the app, we did an update, things like that. And then over the course of that entire year, so 2015, eventually, just before Christmas, we hit that 1 million mark, which was a big milestone for me. Because for me, if I would have told myself at the beginning of 2014 that I'd have a #1 app in the UK with over 1 million downloads, I'd been like, nah, that's not happening. So yeah, lessons learned, okay, so I want to give some advice to people that are looking to get into the App Store. Even now, first of all, it's never too late. I thought it was too late when I made my app, and if I wouldn't have made it, none of this would have happened, okay? So I know it's very oversaturated. I know you're coming up against competitors like Facebook, Candy Crush, Twitter, Instagram, but I'll tell you what, I beat all those companies I beat. I was #1, I was ahead of all these companies. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Never give up, all right? Never give up. Something might seem difficult, And for me, it seemed impossible. I tried and gave up. Even if you've given up now, it's okay to try again. Just keep going and then keep chipping away, because one day it's gonna click and you're gonna be able to do it. I promise you, that's gonna happen. And last of all, when making an application, it's very, very easy to overcomplicate everything. Like literally everything, down to thinking about what name you're gonna do, what's the icon gonna be. Just strip it all down, make something, this is important as well, make something that you and your friends are gonna enjoy using. Because if you don't use it and your friends don't use it, no one else is gonna use it. How can you expect somebody else to use it? So make something for you, keep it simple, keep the functionality simple. My app was literally one button. That was it, you couldn't mess it up. You know, it was the easiest app in the world to make, even easy to use. Keep it simple, it's very, very easy. I've done this before in the past. I've made apps and then added functionality, and you keep adding functionality to the point where it never gets made, it never gets released, because you're always adding things to it before the final release. So that's another thing. Think of an app, think of what you want it to do, condense it, and use that as version 1. Get version 1 out there, get people to interact with it, get feedback, and then build upon that. Because if you just keep adding stuff, you're never gonna finish it. Okay, so I think that is basically it. I probably missed stuff out, but in a nutshell, that is the story of how I got to #1 in the App Store at the age of 21. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comment section below. If you're new, subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like as well. I really like making these videos, so hopefully if you guys like it, I'll keep making more, because I've got plenty more stories to tell. Yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.